So I was living under a rock as a kid, and I never watched Avatar: Last Airbender on Nickelodeon. Yeah, I guess sue me. The Last Airbender has a beautiful theme of destiny and finding your own destiny, and they really use Aang and Zuko as vessels of this. Aang is the Avatar, the chosen one of sorts, but even with this immense power and responsibility he has, all he wants to do is be a kid and do kid things like play and play sports, stuff like that. So it's really heartbreaking to see his friends not let him play with him anymore after he is outed as the Avatar. And it's even more devastating to see the leaders of the Air Temple pushing him into a life of training, discipline, and structure. Aang just doesn't want any of this, like, Avatar shit. Like, he just wants to be a kid. And after being convinced everyone's gonna push him away, he literally runs from his destiny, freezing over 100 years. He does this and actively rids the world of their greatest chance at peace, and just, like, submits the world at 100 years of war. Zuko mirrors Aang from the opposite side. He's a Fire Nation guy. He's told from a young age, like, this Fire Nation propaganda, yada yada. And it's the utmost importance for them to, like, rule the world and all this kind of stuff. Everyone in his life fully supports this, except for his mother, who ends up going missing to save his life. He's, like, the only person in the royal circle that has any sense of actual compassion, and to the point where his father literally banishes him when he speaks against a military plan that involves sacrificing an entire boat of trainees as a distraction. So after he's banished, he spends the whole first season trying to capture Aang to regain his honor he thinks he lost. He's trying to make it up to his father. He wants to regain the throne, all this kind of stuff. And he runs into the Avatar, and it's very clear that he's not the main antagonist of the story. That's like the evil general, I forget his name, Zhao or something. Other than that, Zuko just has these run-ins. He constantly fails. In the finale, he almost pulls it out, but he doesn't. And that just leaves him off with Iroh kind of alone at the end of the first season. They're pseudo-banished, basically, as traitors. So come season 2, Zuko's basically, like, at a crossroads. He can either try to become a normal man, like, build up a normal life with his uncle, or he can keep trying to get the Avatar. And he basically comes to terms with the fact that the honor he wanted wasn't actually the honor he needed, and wasn't even honor at all. And he accepts that. He opens a tea shop with his uncle. Everything's all well and good, until his old destiny just comes knocking at his doorstep. Azula, his sister, is back, and he's basically offered anything he's ever wanted. This brings Zuko to, like, an even bigger crossroads. Like, he can either choose to side with the Avatar in this final battle and win the fight, never get accepted back home, but do probably what he knows is the right thing. Or if he chooses his sister, he can come back home, he can be the prince, he's accepted back forever. So, given this tough choice, he chooses Azula, which is a real big, like, subvertive expectations. Like, the whole time you think he's going to choose the Avatar, and then bang, he's right back to where he started, seemingly. And this just kills his relationship with his uncle. He throws that all away, and he ends this season supposedly getting what he all wanted. On the other side of the mirror, you see the season 2 arc for Aang, and it's a lot simpler. He's kind of just on the hero's journey. He's learning earthbending, all this kind of stuff, but the seasons really keeps just kicking him down and down and down. Like, season 1, you see a little bit of struggle, especially physically, but, like, he's never mentally challenged, at least not too much. But in this season, his struggle to master earthbending, his loss of Appa, and then ultimately he's also told that to master the Avatar state, he has to give up Katara. And all these things happen, and he's just, like, at this mental cluster. Like, he doesn't know what to do. And, like, even in the end, he straight up dies. Like, if it weren't for Katara, he just straight up would die. And it's, like, a really, like, Empire Strikes Back moment. I know that's, like, a cliche for sequels, but, like, he's on this quest of training. He rushes back to his friends to help them out, and then they just get brutally beaten. So where does book 2, like, leave these two? Like, so Zuko is on top of the world. He thinks he has everything he wants. He's the prince. He's awesome. Aang is, like, facing the worst loss of his life. He's been set back weeks to months, and they're already on a time limit to defeat Ozai before Sozin's comet arrives. So they're at this real interesting point come season 3. So I know a lot of this has been about Aang and Zuko, but I can't really like talk about this without talking about Iroh. And I like this gap is a good spot because in season 3, unfortunately, his actor passed away, so like he doesn't talk a whole lot, and he's also just like neglecting Zuko rightfully. So he just doesn't get many lines. But in season 2, I think he's probably the best character. The backstory you get from him is awesome. Like before, you know that like his son died, it kind of made him neglect being a warmonger and all this kind of stuff. But it's a really like emotional motivation for him, especially because it's made clear he's basically using his Zuko as like a redemption for his son. He doesn't want him to be this soldier, this blind bucket of rage that got him into a position that got his son killed. I just find that really beautiful. Tales of Ba Sing Se, probably the most emotional episode of the show, just because of the ending of Iroh's part where he's like celebrating his son's birthday. It's just great. I love Iroh. Everyone loves Iroh. He's awesome. So book 1 and 2 are about a lot destiny, like facing your destiny, people telling you what to do, yada yada. And book 3 is about that too, but I also think it introduces a bigger thread of family. Zuko thought he had it all in this season, but he realizes the family around him is just like screwed. None of them have any compassion. The only guy who had any sort of like mental fortitude, rock, like, was Iroh, and he's just cut him off. He won't talk to him because he's like so disappointed. So he just looks around and he sees only rage and like quest for vengeance, and leads him to realize for sure this time that this sense of honor in the Fire Nation was just not honor at all, just like a vessel of rage. So both rebound by like finding each other and like forming this new family. Like Zuko, after some convincing and some bonding retreats, proves himself and he's accepted into their family, and he bounces off Aang. He helps Aang learn firebending, and overall if this family hadn't formed, they would never have beaten Ozai, and they never would have formed this new unity and peace in the world that definitely lasts in Korra. But they face their destiny. Zuko literally faces his destiny by defeating Azula in the place he always wanted to be, and I think it's in the same spot he lost to his father too, so it's a full circle moment. Aang beats Ozai and just takes away his bending, and they just live happily ever after until Korra ruins the series, in my opinion, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So as a 21-year-old watching this for the first time, what do I get out of it? I get messages about like destiny, doing what you think is right, ignoring like the structural norms, and I get like a sense of family, like surrounding yourself around the right group of people so that you can fulfill what you think this right destiny is. And for an animated kids show 20 years ago, I think that's pretty unique and that's pretty fun. Not really good at this whole video thing, but hopefully my ramble established that Avatar is pretty cool, even not as a kid. I know that's an extremely hot take that everyone disagrees with, but I guess next is Korra. I know I've hinted at it, but I really hate that show. Hopefully I don't make that, but I probably will. You hate to see it.